At Dad's birthday, my brother announced, "Pack your bags, loser. This house is going up for sale." Everyone cheered and raised their glasses. I stepped outside and made one phone call. 10 minutes later, the screaming started. Pratt won. The 5th birthday party was supposed to be a celebration, but I should have known better. Nothing in my family ever went the way it was supposed to, especially when my brother Marcus was involved. The dining room was decorated with balloons and streamers. The table set with Mom's good china. And everyone gathered around pretending we were a normal, happy family. But we weren't normal, and we definitely weren't happy. "So, Dad," Marcus said, raising his wine glass with a theatrical flourish. "I have some exciting news to share on your special day." Everyone turned to look at him expectantly. Marcus had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. At 35, he was a successful real estate developer, with his own company, a beautiful wife named Jennifer, and 2 kids that my parents absolutely adored. I, on the other hand, was the family disappointment at 32. "Jennifer and I have been talking," Marcus continued, shooting a meaningful look at his wife, who smiled and nodded encouragingly. "We think it's time for some big changes around here." Dad leaned forward, interested. "What kind of changes, son?" "Well," Marcus said, pausing dramatically, "we've been looking at houses in the suburbs. You know, better schools for the kids, more space, a real family neighborhood." "That sounds wonderful," Mom said, beaming at her favorite child. "But what does that have to do with us?" Marcus grinned. "We want you and Dad to come live with us. We're thinking about buying a big house with an in-law suite, maybe something with a pool for the grandkids." The room erupted in excited chatter. My Aunt Carol started talking about how wonderful it would be for the family to be closer together. My Uncle Jim nodded approvingly about smart financial planning, and my cousin Beth immediately started asking about the pool. "But wait," Dad said, looking confused. "What about this house? We've lived here for 30 years. "That's the best part," Marcus said, his grin getting wider. "We sell this place and use the money toward the new house. The market's hot right now, and this neighborhood is really up and coming. We could probably get $100,000, maybe more." I felt my stomach drop. This was the house I'd grown up in. The house where I'd had my first kiss on the front porch, where I'd graduated high school, where I'd spent countless hours helping Dad with repairs and renovations. More importantly, it was the house where I currently lived. After my divorce 2 years ago, I'd moved back in with my parents while I got back on my feet. It was supposed to be temporary, just until I could save up enough money for a place of my own. But with the cost of living in the city and Dad's recent health issues, I'd ended up staying to help take care of him. "That's a wonderful idea," Dad said slowly. "But what about Alex? This is her home too." All eyes turned to me. I could feel the weight of their stares, the expectation that I would just go along with whatever Marcus had planned. But Marcus wasn't done yet. "Pack your bags, loser," he announced with a cruel smile. "This house is going up for sale." The room went silent for a moment, and then everyone started cheering and raising their glasses like Marcus had just announced he'd won the lottery. "To new beginnings," Jennifer called out. "To family," Aunt Carol added. "To getting a fresh start," Uncle Jim chimed in. I sat there in shock, watching my family celebrate my homelessness like it was the best news they'd heard all year. Not one person asked where I was supposed to go, or if I had the money for a security deposit. Or if maybe they should have discussed this with me before making the announcement at Dad's birthday party. "Now Alex can finally learn to stand on her own 2 feet," Mom said approvingly. "It's about time she stopped depending on us for everything." "Exactly," Marcus agreed. "She's 30, 2 years old. Most people her age have their own houses, their own families, their own lives. It's embarrassing having her live here like some kind of teenager." The words stung, but what hurt more was watching my parents nod in agreement. Dad, who I'd been taking care of since his heart attack 6 months ago, just sat there and let Marcus talk about me like I was some kind of burden. "I think this will be good for everyone," Jennifer added with fake sympathy. "Alex needs to learn independence, and you two need your freedom back. When were you thinking of putting the house on the market?" Aunt Carol asked excitedly. "As soon as possible," Marcus replied. "I already talked to a realtor friend of mine. She said we could end it listed by the end of the week if we move fast." The end of the week. I finally found my voice. "You're giving me less than a week to find a new place to live." Marcus shrugged. "That's plenty of time. There are lots of apartments available if you're not picky. And it's not like you have a lot of stuff to move." Mom added helpfully. "Most of what's in your room is just old junk anyway." I looked around the table at these people who were supposed to be my family, who were supposed to care about me, and all I saw were strangers celebrating my misfortune. Even my cousins, who I'd grown up with, were nodding along like this was perfectly reasonable. "I need some air," I said, standing up from the table. "Don't be dramatic," Marcus called after me. "This is good news. You should be thanking us for forcing you to finally grow up." At Dad's birthday, my brother announced, "Pack your bags, loser. This house is going up for sale." Everyone cheered and raised their glasses. I stepped outside and made one phone call. 10 minutes later, the screaming started. Pratt too. I walked outside on the front porch. The same porch where I'd spent countless summer evenings with Dad. where we talked about life and dreams and all the things I wanted to accomplish. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was being kicked out of the house I'd been helping to maintain and improve for the past 2 years. While my family continued their celebration inside, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for: James Morrison, senior partner at Morrison & Associates Real Estate Law. James had been my divorce attorney, and we'd stayed in touch afterward. He was a sharp, no-nonsense lawyer who specialized in real estate transactions, property disputes, and family law. More importantly, he was someone who actually listened to me and treated me with respect. I dialed his number, hoping he'd answer even though it was a Saturday evening. "Alex," James answered on the second ring. "I's everything, okay. James, I need your help with something urgent," I said, keeping my voice low so the family inside couldn't hear me. "Can you pull up the property records for 1247 Maple Street? That's my parents' house." "Sure, give me a second," James said. I could hear him typing on his computer. "Okay, what am I looking for?" "I need to know who currently owns the property," I said. "And I need to know if there are any liens, mortgages, or other encumbrances on the title." "Interesting question," James said, his voice taking on the professional tone he used when he sensed there was more to a story. "According to the records, the property is owned by Clearwater Holdings, LLC. There's a significant mortgage on the property and..." "Wait, this is unusual." "What's unusual?" I asked, though I was pretty sure I already knew what he was going to say. "There are some recent filings here. It looks like the original owners, Robert and Margaret Hamilton, defaulted on their mortgage payments about 18 months ago. The property went through foreclosure proceedings, and Clearwater Holdings purchased it at auction. So my parents don't actually own the house anymore?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "Not according to these records," James confirmed. "Clearwater Holdings has owned the property for about 14 months. "But Alex, how did you know to ask about this?" I took a deep breath. "Because I'm Clearwater Holdings." The silence on the other end of the line lasted for several seconds. "You bought your parents' house?" James asked finally. "When Dad had his heart attack, I found out they were behind on mortgage payments," I explained. "Way behind. They were about to lose the house, but they were too proud to tell anyone. So I used my divorce settlement to buy the property at foreclosure auction, then let them continue living here without telling them." "Alex, that's incredibly generous," James said. "But why didn't you tell them?" "Because I knew they'd be humiliated," I said. "Dad's always been proud of being a homeowner, of providing for his family. I thought maybe I could help them get back on their feet financially, and then eventually transfer the property back to them when they were in a better position." "But now your brother wants to sell the house," James said, understanding the situation immediately. "Thinks he can just kick me out and sell a house he doesn't own," I said. "And my parents are going along with it because they don't know the truth." "What do you want me to do?" James asked. "I want you to prepare the paperwork showing that I own the property," I said. "And I want you to send a cease and desist letter to any realtor who tries to list it without my permission." "Consider it done," James said. "I'll have everything ready within the hour. But Alex, you're gonna have to tell them the truth eventually." "I know," I said. "I think tonight's as good a time as any." When I hung up the phone, I could hear the party continuing inside. Marcus was holding court, probably making more plans about the house sale and how they were going to spend the money. I sat on the porch steps for a few minutes, trying to prepare myself for what was about to happen. My phone buzzed with a text from James: "Documents ready. Sent cease and desist to 3 local realtors just in case. You own that house free and clear. Good luck." I walked back inside to find the family still gathered around the dining table, now discussing renovation plans for Marcus's dream house. "We could put in a wine cellar," Jennifer was saying excitedly. "And a home theater," Uncle Jim added. "Don't forget the pool house," Aunt Carol chimed in. Marcus looked up when I walked back in. "There she is. Did you get all your sulking out of your system?" "Actually," I said calmly, "I need to tell you all something important." "If you're going to beg us to let you stay, save your breath," Marcus said dismissively. "We've already made our decision." "I'm not begging for anything," I said, pulling out my phone. "I just got off the phone with my attorney." Mom rolled her eyes. "Alex, you can't afford an attorney. Stop being dramatic." "James Morrison from Morrison & Associates," I continued. "He specializes in real estate law." Dad looked up with interest. "Why were you talking to a real estate attorney?" "Because I wanted to make sure I understood the legal implications of what Marcus is proposing," I said. "Specifically, I wanted to know what happens when someone tries to sell a house they don't own." Marcus laughed. "What are you talking about? Mom and Dad own this house." "No," I said quietly. "They don't." The room went silent. Everyone was staring at me like I just announced I was an alien. "That's ridiculous," Marcus said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. "Of course they own this house. They've lived here for 30 years. They lived here for 30 years. I corrected. "But they haven't owned it for the past 14 months. Dad's face had gone pale. "Alex, what are you talking about?"